Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tibby Time. I'm your host, SoftTibbies, and I'm here with a great and grandiose artist. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Whisperfoot. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. And my first initial question for you is something simple. Why the name Whisperfoot? What started it?
Well, well, long story short, in college, I had some buddies who were coming over, and as I was preparing, they came in, and I went out to meet them, and they didn't hear me walk up behind them, and one of them turned around and went, "Oh, Whisperfoot!" No, well, no, he went, "Oh, fucking scared me. This dude's a little Whisperfoot over here," and that just stuck with me. So when it came time to choosing a name, I was like, well, what name do I choose? Do I choose? I was thinking back about my past nicknames, and I was like, well, would it be X? Would it be Y? And none of them sounded cool. And then there was Whisperfoot, and I was like, the more I thought about it, because at first I thought it was like my first impression was that it was like a Native American sort of descriptive name, like Charging River, Whisperfoot. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I mean, it fits the furry aesthetic, I was going for, and so I was like, well, Whisperfoot it is, and I didn't even think about it too much. I was like, yeah, why not? But I really like it. The more that I have to live with it, the more I'm like, yes, this was a good choice. And the logo too. I'm a big fan of. I still really like the logo I designed for that.
Well, you're certainly a more recognized artist now because I came across your name because I've known you for quite a bit now. So your name's definitely out there. So that being, do you have any thoughts on what it's like being a full-time artist? What would you say the pros and cons of being a full-time artist are?
Well, one of the best things about it is that I get to draw porn. I get to draw one of my favorite things, which is lewd, furry characters. That was one of my biggest things back in the day. Was when I was a kid, even I discovered furry porn really young, and yeah, I've always had an appreciation for it as an art form, and I remember looking up to some of these artists, being like, "How the heck did they get there?" Or how are they so good? Because the stuff I was doing was terrible. That's why I quit, doing the art as a kid. But I was like, wow, everybody's so good. I love this stuff, and now I get to, in a way, I get to repay some of that, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
And but to that wasn't even answering your question. To answer your question, that's definitely one of the pros. Let's see. Another pro is that I get to make my own hours. I get to set my own schedule. But that's also one of the cons, is that you don't have any structure. There's no structure in place for you, so you have to come up with your own structure. You have to create it for yourself, and that's not always easy, especially for me, because I always had structure from other people. So I spent quite a while just learning how to create structure for myself. And now, I mean, I have more structure than I thought was even possible for me. I have a sleep schedule. Who does that? Nowadays.
Income-wise, I assume that you majorly use your Patreon and stuff like that because you don't really seem to do commissions as much. Why is that, and what does your Patreon offer?
Well, I did commission stuff. I've done commissions most of my artistic career. And I've for the past couple of years, I was wanting to move away from it, but I was trapped in the commission cycle where I would do a commission, or I would take commissions. I would finish the commissions, but by the time I finished them, it was time for rent, and so I had to pay that money, and then the cycle continued in perpetuity. And also, I got some Patreon rewards that I owed, but I did end up now that I'm able to afford it. I ended up paying them all back. Actually, I'm in the process of paying them all back. I still have a couple I need to pay back, but I've paid back most of them. And that feels great, getting out of art debt like that. That means I can focus on, my Patreon and stuff. And that's really my passion project right now, is doing the Patreon, getting drawing what people like, because I really enjoy. I'm a people pleaser, and that sometimes also works to my detriment. Is that sometimes I can't please everybody, even though I want to, and so like my patrons, sometimes they'll give me suggestions, and I like suggestions, but there's a point where the suggestions turn into stress for me, where I get like I just can't like do anything. I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm so like nervous thinking about the fact that I can't please everybody, and people are going to be disappointed. But that's something that I can work on. Right now, I do mostly furry female pinups with occasional forays into like sex and lesbian sex and straight sex and all of that kind of stuff. My main focus is on furry females, and I also do a lot of alt versions of my pics, which are basically like variants, and I'm big. I'm big into those. That was something like a lot of these things on my Patreon are things that I thought about, like I've been thinking about for a while, but I've just been like keeping them in my my memory bank, and eventually I found the opportunity to do it. So I started out small with these alts, but now I back in the day I would do like 3 or 4 alts per picture. This was back in November of last year, so that was 6 months ago. Now my pictures usually land between 30 to 60 alts per picture, and it sounds crazy to a lot of people, and that's because it is, but it's a lot more work than I ever like thought that I'd be able to take on. But I mean, here we are. So I offer that. I offer exclusive pictures on my $10 tier, and I'm thinking about adding another one where I'm thinking about reintroducing those Patreon rewards, but in more of a controlled way, where I select one every month to do, as opposed to doing one for everybody, one for each person.
You said that you do suggestions and stuff like that, and I noticed you have a pretty wide variety of characters you like to draw. Besides your OC, what's your favorite character to draw?
Whew! I really like. Well, right now I've been really enjoying drawing Judy Hopps from Zootopia, but Luna from Hell of a Boss is one of my crushes, as well as Isabel. I'm really big into those characters. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of those characters, especially Luna. Luna's just so cute.
I noticed that you really don't draw your OC that much anymore. Why is that?
Well, it's mostly just because I changed my content. I used to have a lot more freedom with what I did. I used to, but and it's not like I lost the freedom. It's more like I chose to limit myself, and I just want to focus more on the furry female pinup stuff, as opposed to drawing my own characters or drawing like other people's characters for money. I would rather draw just pinup stuff in general, and pinup stuff that people enjoy.
So now that you limited your options and stuff like that, a lot of artists to expand their brand or just themselves in general, they often do collabs. Did you ever want to do a collaboration with anyone?
Oh yeah. There are some artists who I would die for a collab with. Some of these artists would be well, the number one right now I think would be Whispering for Nothing. I think he and I would make a great collab. I haven't broached the topic to him yet, but I should really do that. I should really do that because his stuff is so good. And it's very similar to what I do. So, and we both have very similar names as well. Let's address the obvious. We are not the same person. Me and Whispering for Nothing are not. Even though people think that we are. No, I'm a different person, and he's a different person. He's French, I think, and I'm American. That's a big differentiator. But we both have Whisper in the name, so people tend to. Some people, at least, tend to confuse us. But I mean, it makes sense. We do the similar. We have a similar name. We do similar stuff. Sometimes, people could consider our styles similar. Especially line art. Line art's pretty similar. It just gets out of the way.
So with Whisper for Nothing, what would you guys work on exactly in your collab? Do you have any ideas of something like that, or is that a bit too far thinking?
Probably more the latter. However, I think the dream would be us working on a picture and then animating it. Him animating it in the way that he does. I forget what he uses. I think it's Live 2D or After Effects. It would be something like that. I think that would be great, but I think that's too much work for him. I don't want to put that much work on him. So, and I wouldn't want him animating one of my pictures. That just seems lopsided and rude. So I would never want that. I just think we could definitely do a really nice pinup or a pinup set or something like that. Maybe we could do also I don't know, a pack or something. It all depends. There's nothing set in stone yet, and he has not agreed to this, so there is no obligation.
If he would do the animation and stuff like that, what would you do? Would you do something that's more your favorite part of the art process? What is your favorite part of the art process? Speaking of,
it's a problem trying to figure out what we would do because it's we're both kind of on par, I guess. He's got good shading, probably better than mine, and he's probably maybe I've got it in the line art department, and then he's got it more in the sketch department, and then I could do finishing effects or something. I think we're pretty well balanced. But yeah, again, it's not set in stone or anything.
What's your favorite part of the art process, though?
Shading easily.
What about?
I love shading. Rendering is just it's the part that I get to be the most creative on. The sketch, I don't get too much freedom there. I do have freedom, but I'm still limited in a lot of ways. But with shading, it's I could do anything. I could set this anywhere. I could put the mood lighting as anything. I have so much freedom there, and it's sometimes daunting, but I really enjoy the process of just creating the shape out of because I think in 3D, right? When I'm sketching, I think in 3D when I'm doing the line art, and then I think in 3D when I'm doing the shading as well. And the background. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. So I'm hiccuping.
Well, you mentioned your buddy does a lot of the animation and stuff. Have you tried animation or 3D work?
I've definitely tried animating. I've done. If I was going to do animating, it would not be in the in those kind of programs. It would be more like Chelladoy, who does the really amazing 2D hand-drawn animation, and it looks so good. And they just released a picture of Judy, not Judy. Who's the other bunny?
Lola.
Lola. Yeah, Lola. Just did a Lola picture, and that shit That shit blew me away, dog. I ain't even gonna lie. That it inspired me. I was like, oh my god, I want to animate now.
You mentioned Chelodius.
But then whenever I try, it's gonna turn out terribly. So it's like, well, fuck.
So you mentioned Chelodi a little bit, but do you have any other favorite artists you'd like to mention?
I mean, I would have to look through my favorites or some of the artists, but I think off the top of my head, one of the big ones is Sayuro. His shading like blew me away. Like when I was starting to improve on what I do, I was starting to take my art to the next level. That was at the around the beginning of 2020. That was when I started really putting effort into my work, and his stuff was already so detailed and so shaded. It's only gotten better. His stuff has only gotten better, and his stuff really inspired me. Specifically the shading. That shit is so good.
Are there any pieces of your own that you go back to inspire yourself? Like, do you have a favorite piece that you worked on specifically?
I'll be real. Sometimes it updates to like the most recent picture I've done because I really love what I do. But I think my recent fave is the picture of Isabel getting face fucked by Tom Nook. I fucking I love that picture. Love the anatomy on that, and the Renamon on some bleachers cheering on a college team. That picture, I really like how that one turned out. As far as like in another way that we could take the question, would be something that I look back on that inspires me to do better because it's so terrible. And I look back on what I don't want to be, and that would be, back in like near the beginning of 2020, I think it was the last picture I did that like before I started to focus on improving it was a picture of Isabel, and it was in a chibi style, and she was sitting in this blank void with like a texture over it, and I was like, and it was just so simplistic and bad, and just it was everything I didn't want to be, but I was, and it like gave me like an aneurysm, and that coupled with COVID, coupled with there was something else, some other shit that was bothering me at the time, and that all compounded, and it just kind of broke my brain. And after that everything, I started to figure out ways to improve, but it would not have been possible without that picture breaking me down, just breaking my brain until just with hatred of what I was at the time, to inspire me to improve.
Do you have any tips for your fans or anything like that? Like, if someone wanted to become an artist like you, any tips?
Yeah, draw. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much like that's. If you want to be an artist, don't say I want to be an artist. Be an artist. Draw. Pick up the pen and just draw something. It's gonna be bad. If you haven't drawn before, or if you've only drawn a little bit, it's gonna be like not up to your standards, or maybe you think it's gonna be great. But always look for, in every picture you do, always look for one thing that you can improve on, and then try again the next day. Try to improve on that aspect, and then you'll see another thing, and then another thing, and then as you take in other people's art as well, you look at other people's art and you study them, and you notice, they do that thing, it's so much better than the way I do it. I want to do it like them. So then you take that element and you incorporate that into your style, and then you keep practicing that, and just keep pulling in from other artists who are better than you, and before you know it, you'll be better than you ever thought was possible. So that's what I would recommend. I would also recommend doing something that keeps you drawing. So like what I did when I started was I started an Ask blog, which is just it was an account. It was back when Tumblr was a thing, or it wasn't. Back before they banned porn. They basically an Ask blog is when people ask you questions and you draw responses to them. So that's a good way to get quick inspiration, and you get some audience interaction there. You get some fun, and don't be afraid to reach out to other. I think don't be afraid to reach out to other artists and draw them fan art or do anything like that. Even if they don't respond to it, even if they don't like give you like follows from it. I mean, I'm sure they still appreciate it.
Certainly words of wisdom to live by. My final question for you is more of a philosophical one, I suppose. I've asked many people from many different cultural contexts, but being close to me, I suppose we can relate on this answer. So, do you have any clue what the deal with airline food is?
I've actually never been on a plane.
So you're unsure.
Never. Yeah. I would say that it's probably really cheap. I would not imagine they would give you like super duper fancy stuff unless you're in or anything like even anything that's like a medium quality. They'd give you probably terrible stuff because they don't want to waste too much money. But like maybe if you're in first class, maybe you get better food. But I've always heard that it's terrible airline food.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. You're definitely a big inspiration to me, and I'm sure you're a big inspiration to other people.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. I'm glad that I could be an inspiration to you and an inspiration to other people. Don't let people tell you that you can't do something. If you want to do it, if you want to draw, if you want to be an artist, don't wait for permission. Don't wait for people. Don't wait for yourself to be good. Don't keep it private. Just be honest about it, and know that you will improve. It's like the only people who don't improve are the people who are okay with where they are. So if you want to be a good artist, if you want to improve, then you must be discontent with where you are, and you have to use that to figure out how to boost yourself up. You got to be creative with it, because life is just a big game, and if you don't take the time to learn how to play, you're gonna get lost.
Well, thank you for your beautiful words of wisdom, Whisperfoot. Now, everybody, if you really like not safe for work furry art, or if you ever need a philosophical lesson, or frankly just a slap on the ass to get back in the game, well, I have the place for you. It's at Whisperfoot on Twitter.com. He has a Patreon as well, and he has a Fur Affinity too, and a few other places. And if you guys have any questions for him, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. And thank you for watching, and I hope you'll have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.